dear.
Why, hello, Amora, guys, and welcome to another year at Hogwarts. That's right, we're going through all the Harry Potter movies, and we're looking into each individual movie on its history, its pop culture impact, and also its spot in the franchise. Now, with the new TV series announced by HBO, I figured it's time to look into each individual movie, and now we're up to Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Now, before we get started, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you like these videos. Hit that notification button if you want to see the next one. And if you're just joining us today and if you want to see our previous video on the Philosopher's Stone, feel free to click here. And with that being said, let's get into the video. Principal photography began on November 19th, 2001. Yeah, just only 3 days after the wide release of the first one. And meanwhile, the second unit were working on the Ford Anglia flying car scenes 3 weeks prior. Just couldn't wait to pump out another Harry Potter movie, could you, Warner Brothers? Director Chris Columbus returned to direct the sequel, along with the costume, set, and sound designers and the special and visual effects crew that worked on the previous film. Even John Williams came back to score the film, but this was difficult for him as he just came back from scoring Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones and Minority Report, and was just starting to score the movie Catch Me If You Can. So a bit of a busy year for John Williams, probably swimming in his backyard pool full of cash to cool off after all that hard work. And of course, the original cast from the students and teachers had returned, who have said that they were excited to come back for the sequel. And even if they didn't want to come back, they had no choice because they were under contract with the studio anyway. But you definitely can't picture the franchise without Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson, and along with Maggie Smith, Robbie Coltrane, Alan Rickman, and Richard Harris in one of his final film performances, which we'll definitely touch more on in the next video. But when it comes to making sequels though, there is just one important thing that needs to be done when making a sequel for a franchise. When doing the sequel, it definitely can't feel like the same movie as the original, otherwise people ain't just coming back for the other movies. But with the story being adapted from the sequel, The Chamber of Secrets book by J.K. Rowling, there was a number of things that added to the story from book to film. The first one being the introduction of new characters, like Molly Weasley, who's the Weasley's mum, who had a brief appearance in the previous movie, Arthur Weasley, who is the Weasley's father, who gave us information about the wider wizarding world, Lucius Malfoy, who is Draco Malfoy's dad, played by Jason Isaac, who is an example of wealthy, magical people in the wizarding world. Even new teachers at Hogwarts, like Gilderoy Lockhart, played by Keith Branagh, who is a famous wizard in the wizarding world, but is the new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, cause Professor Quirrell was turned into dust the year before, and this does set the trend for the Defense Against the Dark Arts job being jinxed, and each teacher barely lasting a year. Also, Hugh Grant was supposed to play Gilderoy, but had to drop out in the last minute due to scheduling issues with the film 2 weeks' notice. Professor Sprout also makes her debut in the film and introduces us to Herbology and Madame Pomfrey, who runs the hospital wing. And of course, new Hogwarts students as well, like Colin Creevey, who appears in multiple Harry Potter books, but this is the only time we see him in the movies. And of course, Jenny Weasley, who is Ron's sister, who makes an appearance in the previous film, but does grow as a character throughout the rest of the films. But the books do a better job at that than the movies. And we get introduced to the ghost of Moni Myrtle, who does literally take her name way too seriously, but she does play a key plot in the movie. Even adding new locations to expand the wizarding world, like the Burrow, which is the Weasley family home, and Knockturn Alley, which is just an extra street in Diagon Alley. Another thing that's a massive improvement as well is the special effects. Now, in the previous Harry Potter movie, I did mention that the Philosopher's Stone did have some rough special effects, that Chris Columbus wasn't happy with some of the special effects that were used in the film. And we're not just talking about the Quidditch match, which does get a bit of an upgrade in the Chamber of Secrets, but the set designs, visual effects scenes, sound design, and creature effects have a much bigger focus this time round. And with a release date of November 15th, 2002, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets was brought to the big screen. But how did the movie translate the book to the movie? Well, like in the previous movie, things will get booted to the cutting room floor. But some things will be necessary just to avoid any repetitiveness from the previous movie. Like, for example, there is a chapter in the book where Harry and the Weasleys practice Quidditch at the Burrow. But they do leave out other chapters as well, like Nearly Headless Nick's Death Day Party, which they probably cut for pacing reasons. But however, just like in the Philosopher's Stone, the Chamber of Secrets does have an extended version that adds some deleted scenes, which do add a lot more details into the film and gives you more information. Like, for example, there is a scene from the book where you see Lucius Malfoy and Draco Malfoy in Knockturn Alley trying to sell dark items in the Borgin and Burke shop, which was cut from the theatrical cut, but they did add it in the extended cut. I'd just like to say as well, this is exactly why I like buying physical media of extended cuts on Blu-ray and 4K. You just get so much detail that you don't get from the theatrical cuts. But just like all other movies, there are positives and negatives. Let's start with the negatives. First, let's just get the ending out of the way, shall we? Now, a lot of people didn't actually enjoy the ending of the movie like they do in the book. See, if you guys have read the books, normally the trio and rest of Hogwarts return back home on the Hogwarts Express after another year and leave King's Cross Station. Where in the movie, they just end with everyone clapping for Hagrid at the end, which a lot of people did find that ending cheesy, or they just felt like that the ending could have been a lot better. For me personally, I honestly don't mind the ending of the Chamber of Secrets movie, but I can understand why a lot of people didn't like this ending. Another thing is important information that gets cut out of the film about the mystery of the Chamber of Secrets. Now, in the extended cut, while some information does get added back in, there are some other moments in the books that should have made it into the film. And lastly, there is a silly moment with Lucius Malfoy about to use the killing curse on Harry in front of Dumbledore's office. Which, fun fact, Jason Isaac only knew one spell, and that was the killing curse. I don't know why the writers or the director didn't just tell him to say a different spell. But let's look at the positives. Now, speaking of improvising scenes, there is quite a few in the Chamber of Secrets that fit very well. Like, for example, this scene with Draco Malfoy.
Reading? I didn't know you could read.
Yeah, that was actually improvised by Tom Felton because he actually forgot his lines in this scene. And let's not forget this moment between Lucius Malfoy and Harry Potter.
Let us hope that Mr. Potter will always be around to save the day.
Don't worry, I will be.
Yeah, that was actually improvised by Jason Isaac and Daniel Radcliffe. And I do love seeing movies that are laid back on improvised moments, as they do flow better and does make the movie feel a bit more natural. Just another thing I do love the extra slapstick comedy that is involved in the Harry Potter movies.
Expelliarmus!
Definitely a massive positive in this film as well is the new introduction of creatures and mythical beasts in the wizarding world. Like in the Philosopher's Stone, we've been introduced to goblins, unicorns, and centaurs, but this time we get introduced to new creatures, including a couple which add a lot more danger to the wizarding world. Like, for example, we get house elves with the introduction of Dobby the house elf, who is a Harry Potter fan favourite, pixies, which just look so annoying. We also have phoenixes in the Harry Potter universe, the famous one being Fawkes the Phoenix, which is Dumbledore's personal pet, which, by the way, Richard Harris actually thought that the animatronic Fawkes the Phoenix was a real bird. Acromantula, which are giant spiders, famous one being Aragog, which is Hagrid's best friend, because Hagrid loves bringing dangerous animals to Hogwarts. Yeah, can you stop doing that, Hagrid? Hogwarts is already a massive safety hazard as it is. And of course the Basilisk, which is just my favourite creature design from the Harry Potter movies. Like, that's a 2002 snake. Still looks good after 20 plus years. Might listen to Snake Jazz after this. And we can't forget the improvement on the special effects as well. Like I said previously, there was a big upgrade with the special effects, and when you do compare the previous movie to this one, the blending of the practical and CGI special effects just flows so much better compared to the Philosopher's Stone. And definitely two of the biggest focus on the special effects were the sound design for some of the creatures and the magical items used in the film. Especially for the Basilisk as well. Apparently that was the hardest special effect that they had to work on the set of Chamber of Secrets, because they had to design it to look like a snake, but also dragon-like. And they used the mix of giant animatronic puppets and CGI to bring it to life, kind of the similar way that they made the T-Rex from Jurassic Park. And of course we get the introduction of magical items, and these new magical items do expand more in the wizarding world and how things work. Like the Ford Anglia, such a funny magical thing to add in this insane world. We also get the introduction of Floo powder, along with herbology and magical plants like mandrakes and the Whomping Willow. Yeah, just have that there randomly in the middle of the school for students to play with. We also get the introduction of new potions like Polyjuice Potion, which was a big plot point in the middle of the book and in the movie, which does make a couple of returns in future installments.
Wow, we're identical.
And the introduction of wizarding dueling, which gets way out of hand between Draco and Harry over here. Sure, just basically give our students a gun to shoot each other with and use the school as a paintball arena. And of course, Tom Riddle's diary, which we'll talk about. Now, after looking into the positives and negatives, what about the overall story from the movie? Well, the story about Harry, Ron and Hermione returning to Hogwarts for their second year, discovering a dark mystery about a secret chamber being opened where students are being attacked by a mysterious monster roaming around the school. It tells a new dark and mysterious tale which tackles themes of racism and slavery while still staying true to the world of Harry Potter. And just the mystery in the film definitely feels better than The Philosopher's Stone. And I'll just add a spoiler alert here for a movie that came out in 2002. Well, just the questions of what's the Chamber of Secrets, talking about the history of Hogwarts and its 4 founders, why is Harry able to speak to snakes, we get a random side plot of Lockhart being a fraud and a liar, did Hagrid open the Chamber of Secrets, and who is Tom Riddle? Like, just all these questions just keep us thinking through the film. And with that whole reveal that Jenny Weasley opened the Chamber of Secrets, but that was because of Tom Riddle's diary, where it turns out it was a younger version of Lord Voldemort.
Surely you didn't think I was going to keep my filthy muggle father's name.
Just adds a bit of shock value to the story and does give us a sneak peek with what's to come in future installments. And lastly, how did the movie do with fans and critics, and also how did its box office go along with its merchandise sales? Well, just like the previous film, fans and critics think it's a solid Harry Potter movie, with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 82% for critics and 80% for fans. Now, it is interesting with the Chamber of Secrets because after the next few installments, Chamber of Secrets did become the black sheep of the Harry Potter franchise. And fans did start making it their least favourite Harry Potter film in the series. Not that it's a bad movie or anything, but it has sort of gained a cult following and has been considered an underrated Harry Potter film. And coming off a $100 million budget, which was $25 million less than the last one, Chamber of Secrets still made bank, earning $926 million at the box office. Not $1 billion like the previous film, but still worthy to keep making these movies for those angsty teens. And the marketing and merchandise was just as strong as the previous film. Footage of the film began appearing online in the summer of 2002, and with the teaser trailer debuting in the cinemas with the release of 2002's Scooby-Doo film, like Harry Potter fans only went to Scooby-Doo just to see the trailer and then just leave, similar to what happened in 1989's Batman trailer. Video games were also released too in early November of 2002 for the next generation of consoles like GameCube, PlayStation 2 and Xbox. But we did get a version of the original PlayStation, which was on the end of its run for the next generation. I guess the developers were like, it, just give little Timmy something at least until he can get a PlayStation 2. The film also continued the merchandising success as well, with toys and tie-in merch like sweets, collectibles, home pregnancy tests, and competitions to visit theme parks and movie sets. There was even reports that the LEGO Chamber of Secrets tie-in sets were running out of stock, which made these LEGO sets more popular than the previous sets. And keep in mind, these games and toys were made while the film was being made as well, so they didn't really have footage to go off as references. Now, it was definitely clear that Warner Brothers had a slam dunk franchise on their hands, and there is no escaping the sheer popularity of the Harry Potter franchise. But like all other sequels in their respective franchise, we will see that one sequel in the franchise with a brand new look and a brand new style in the next chapter. But that's all the time for we have today, guys. If you do like videos like this, don't forget to hit that notification button. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Follow my socials down here as well. And until the next video, guys, I'm Azza the Pop Culture Viking. Always love pop culture, and don't forget to smile.
Miss Hoover, the movie's over.
Down in front!